Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to make a video about my Weatherguard toolbox that I have here on the truck. Tell you what I like about it, what I don't, and why I chose to go with Weatherguard. So I've had this toolbox in my truck for about 2 years now, and to date I've been extremely happy with it. Weatherguard is definitely one of the better known toolbox manufacturers out there, and they've recently shifted a lot of their manufacturing to staying at home in the United States. They have offered a more entry-level lineup of these truck toolboxes. I believe they're called the Defender series. But when you're looking at a toolbox, I would definitely recommend staying away from them. If you're looking at a budget option, there are better budget options than that. For whatever reason, the quality standards they're using on their budget options are not even close to what they keep on their Pro lineup here behind me. So I've been really happy with this toolbox to date. I chose to go the Weatherguard route because I've had a few other toolboxes, a UWS brand and it was the TSC home brand of truck box on my last pickup and then on my dad's pickup truck. And those toolboxes definitely performed all right, but when I spent the money on this truck, I figured I wanted a better looking toolbox and a better functioning toolbox for some of the inconveniences that I was putting up with for far too long in the old boxes. The first of which being that they were not weatherproof. The gaskets were failing or non-existent in places they needed to be. My tools were damp or straight up wet after going through a car wash or driving in a storm. So the Weatherguard, it's in its name, Weatherguard, weatherproof. I have had zero issues with this so far. Going through a car wash, no problem. Getting really intense with a pressure washer, no issues. Driving in a rainstorm, no problems there as well. So like I said, I've been driving pickup trucks since I was in high school and I've always had a toolbox on them. So when I chose to go with the Weatherguard, it is a more premium toolbox, so it's definitely higher up on the price scale. It's not as high as some of the crazy stuff from Billy Box with like LED lights and Bluetooth speakers. There's a few other manufacturers doing that right now. I believe Weatherguard even offers some accessories to do that to your own box. But if you just want a plain Jane box with solid build quality, proper locks, and properly weatherproofed, I didn't mind paying the extra couple $100s to be able to guarantee it with this, opposed to taking another shot in the dark with some of the more budget options. So the first thing I really like about the Weatherguard box is the locking mechanism. You can unlock or lock it from either side. So right now I've got it locked on the one side and open on this side. All you have to do is press the red button and it opens right up. It also has a full hinge, which makes it really easy to close it so it's not twisting and pivoting. So you come around, lock it down, you don't have to walk around and click it into the other side like some of the more budget-friendly options. And then for locking, you put the key in, turn it, and push it in. So now the lock is completely recessed. That way nobody can get at it with like a screwdriver, a pry bar, hammer, anything like that to be able to jimmy this lock open, at least not easily. Same with the tongue, the way that it wraps around the box itself, and makes it quite difficult to get a pry bar up there, and you really don't have any leverage trying to bend it up. If you're gonna break into one of these, you're better to just take an angle grinder and cut a hole in it. One thing that's definitely worth noting with these toolboxes is with the full-size box like this, your lid sits about 3 inches above the box itself, which means when you open it, you need to have that room to pivot behind the box before hitting the cab. Now I've got a back rack on my truck, but what Weatherguard does is they leave a recess in this space here, which helps make up for some of the clearance issues that you might have. When you open the box, it swings into this space here, which means now I only need 2 inches opposed to the full 3 of clearance before it hits the rack. Now when you install these, it's easy because the lid actually goes up to a full 90 degrees, so it makes it pretty easy to measure it and lay it out and then get the most out of your box and out of the space between the box and the cap of the truck. With these toolboxes, there is 3 different size options. You can go with the standard like this. There is a low pro option, which sits about 3 inches lower, and there is a extra wide option, which sits about 6 inches deeper. I avoided the extra deep because unless you've got an 8-foot bed on your truck, it definitely starts to impede on the actual space that you have for putting things in the truck, right? So I want to put an ATV in here. Right now with a 6'6" bed, it just fits from the toolbox to the end of the tailgate to comfortably hold my ATV. Same goes for putting our paint sprayer, pressure washer, any of our larger implements or tools in the back. Once you start to go too big on the toolbox, it really starts to hurt the space in the bed. I believe they do offer a short option, which might be something worth considering if you've only got the 5-foot small beds. But if you have a standard size bed, I definitely recommend going with the standard size. If you're not a full-time contractor or in the trades, you don't necessarily need the full-size box. You can go with the Low Pro. It does look a little bit better, I think, on the truck because it's a little bit more sleek and probably matches up with a tonneau cover that much easier. But if you are a professional, you definitely want to maximize your storage. Feel free to go to the extra wide, but if you're also going to be using your bed for a lot of items, then I definitely recommend just going with the standard. I've been happy with it so far, and I definitely don't regret my decision to date, but I'll keep you posted on that. So I'll show you a little more in-depth tour of my toolbox, what I keep in it, how I organize it, and some of the features of the box itself. So first off, I should probably address the elephant in the room, and that's this canvas sheet. It's a 14-foot paint tarp folded over itself, and why I keep it in here. The main reason I keep this in my toolbox is because this lid is not an insulated lid. There are toolbox manufacturers that make an insulated lid, so it'll be 2 layers of aluminum with some insulation between them, but Weatherguard doesn't offer that. And although that's fine, the lid is perfectly strong and completely weather resistant, I find that it condensates when you got some cold nights, hot days, stuff like that, and I get dew in there and kind of this damp feeling on a lot of my tools, and that can lead to rust and failures in those tools. And since I've got so much money invested in what's inside this box, I definitely want to avoid that happening. So that's quick insurance, just to put a tarp over it. It's quick and easy to take out, and that avoids any issues that I have with dew and stuff like that, or moisture on top of the tools. As well as it keeps them a little bit cooler on hot days. So take that out. Keep my power tools to the one side, hand tools to the other. Got a couple basic fluids that I need for the truck, like brake fluid, power steering, some oil, and then a slew of other bigger tools: sledgehammers, pry bars, paint rollers, poles, sanders, just about everything. I got my level, just about everything that I would need on an average day. I don't keep my bigger tools like an SDS or anything like that in here. That stays in the shop because that's not an everyday tool for me. If I know I'm gonna need that, that goes on the truck in the morning. Otherwise, this is my everyday carry of toolboxes, or of tools. So this doesn't really change from day to day. One thing I really like is how Weatherguard has a level holder built right into the toolbox. I've got a 4-foot level right here. It just clicks in and clicks out really easily. Big fan of that, so you're not digging around trying to find your level. Makes it really easy for organization. I'm not sure if you can see this, but there's a big gusset at the back. This is where the piston's attached to. So when the toolbox is down, it goes right across about 2/3 towards the back, which kind of braces the toolbox. So if you've got a bunch of people sitting on it, there is no flex whatsoever in the box lid, which I really like that. Another thing I love is how the lid itself, how there is a gap in here. The lid is much higher than the box itself, so that way when you fill your box up, if you have a couple items that are poking up a little bit too tall, you're not going to have any issues closing it. The next thing that was really important with this box was my last one, is the gas struts, both where they're mounted and how they're mounted. What I like about the Weatherguard is that there's an actual box built around it, which is made out of quite heavy, probably 1/8 inch channel, and then same with an actual gusset welded on to mount the piston. So it can't be interrupted by your tools shifting around, which is a huge bonus, because you think you set everything up right, you go to close it and oh, bang bang, it's hitting on your drill or something like that, and you can't get it to close. So Weatherguard does offer this toolbox in a few different colors. You can get it in the standard chrome, you can get it in gloss white, matte black, or what we have here, the gloss black. I believe they offer it in both flat and checker plate. I chose to go with the checker plate because it's a more classic look, and I think it's a little bit stronger and more resilient to dings and dents, or at least you're not as likely to notice them. My experience with the flat colors is that they scratch super easy, so I chose to go with gloss. It looks kind of better with the monochromatic black and white look I've got on the truck anyways. And then combined with the checker plate and the gloss, it should hold up to scratches and dents a little bit better. Now these toolboxes come with front mounting hooks, which is nice for tying down a tarp or something like that, or maybe a couple of bungee cords, but I would never put a ratchet strap on them. They do have a massive 4-inch washer on the inside, but I really wouldn't want to risk putting your motorcycle up here, tying it down to those points, and then having it either tear the aluminum on your toolbox or rip off entirely and damage what you're trying to hold down, which is probably more expensive than the box itself. So inside the box, from left to right, I keep all my hand tools and some fluids on this side. Got a roll of poly, a few more bags of tools. I believe that's all full of M12 power tools. I've got some of my trowels, and then all my M18 Milwaukee power tools over here. Now with the exception of that drill right there, I don't usually leave the batteries on these because we are up in Canada and we do get lots of cold nights, so I try to keep the batteries in a separate box inside the truck. That way in the evening I can just bring them inside and don't have to worry about them getting too cold. The tools themselves though, being weatherproof, a weatherproof box and having the canvas tarp, I've run into no issues in the last 2 years with anything getting any rust on it or anything like that. The box does come with these 2 side pockets which go over the bed of the truck. I usually use that just for stuff like ratchet straps and whatnot, but I took them out so that I could show you how I have it mounted. The box comes with standard J-hooks which hook under the kind of the tongue of the bed, and then as you tighten them up they pull up on that. Since I have a side rail system and the back rack itself, I chose to cut it and weld on a 3/8 inch by 2 inch plate that goes the distance from the bar itself all the way to the back rack, and then I drilled holes and put in 1/2 inch anchors all the way through that. It just made more sense than the J-hooks because the J-hooks were just barely catching on to the side of the truck, since the box has to sit off with my current rail setup. If you don't have a back rack, the box sits super flush and is super easy to mount. Probably only takes 15 minutes to mount the box. If you do have some sidebars like this, you're definitely going to want to think of a more secure mounting solution. It's really not complicated though to throw a couple of bolts in. If you have a toolbox on your truck, you've got tools and you probably know how to use them. So it's really not a huge task. So for me, toolbox security was a huge deal. Pretty much my #1 priority. I've got so much money invested in the tools in this box. I wanted to go with something that was as secure as possible. From my experience with toolboxes and all the research I did online, the Weatherguard box seems to offer the best solution for that. Now I know no box is that secure. Anybody who has time and motivation can get into it. If you make a wooden box, or even if you weld up a 1/4 inch steel box and max out the payload on your truck, anybody with time and patience can get into that box. So for this, the level of build quality that they provide for the money, I think is pretty decent. When it's locked down, it's near impossible to get under here and properly pry it up. And the locks, when they're recessed, they're pretty much tamper-proof. So for me, it's worked so far. I haven't had any concerns. I've definitely seen lots of videos of guys posting their toolbox horror stories of losing all their tools, but most of the videos you see with the Weatherguard box, the guys are saying that I'm happy I spent the extra couple $100 to have a more secure box. You know, you'll see a bunch of cut marks, pry marks, stuff like that, but the guys were unable to get into the box in the time that they had to try and steal something. If it's in an empty parking lot with no one around all day, I'm sure someone could break into this box, no problem. If they brought a cordless angle grinder, I doubt it would be an issue, but that goes with everything, right? If someone wanted to break into your home while you're away and your neighbors aren't around, they can do that too. So to date, I've been pretty happy with it. I've had no security issues and no failures on any of the locks, reliability issues, anything like that. It's been pretty good so far. If you're interested in ordering one of these boxes, I have heard some horror stories, unfortunately, of guys ordering either the kind of more entry-level series with the weld qualities that it's been quite poor, or even with the more industrial pro series like this. I've heard issues when guys order them online direct to their home with shipping issues. My recommendation for that would be to find yourself a dealer, have them order the box for you. Sometimes their pricing might even beat what you can get online yourself. You just have to go drive to that location and pick it up. But that way you can go there, once you've ordered the box, take a look at it, and if it is damaged, they'll send it back and they'll deal with it for you, versus you trying to deal with that, argue with the shipping guys, argue with the manufacturer as to whose fault it is. If you order it through something like Action Car and Truck Accessories, it's not going to be an issue. You show up, take a look at the box. If it's what you wanted, you take it. If it doesn't look like what you expected it to be like, then you don't. It's just that simple. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and maybe think about hitting that subscribe button. If you want, I'd be happy to give a more in-depth tour of the toolbox itself, everything that I have in it. Right now I've got a lot of my tools out because we're doing some work around the shop, but I can organize it and do a proper video of everything that's in it, how I like to organize it, what I keep in it, and why I do it that way. If you want to see that, please leave a comment below and tell me what you want to see. Otherwise, thanks guys for watching this video, and hope you have a great day. Peace.